Welcome. This is a session to give you more information about the Master of Data Science in the School of Computing and Information at the University of Pittsburgh. We're really glad you could join us today. My name is Wes Lipschultz. I'm here to talk to you as the Senior Director of Student and Academic Affairs in the School of Computing and Information, and more specifically related to the MDS degree, I'm the Student Success Lead. And in terms of my background and whether or not I've got the street cred to give you information that you can, be confident in, I've been in higher education for about 29 years. I've dealt with areas from advising to recruitment to student success and experiential learning and admissions and even more. My graduate background is in social psychology and instructional systems. And on a personal note, I am married to Christine Lally. I'm the father to Claire, that's my daughter, and then I also have a dog, Rosie, and I'm her human father, I guess. And I am very passionate about music. I love music. I play piano, harmonica, and ukulele, and I like to hike. I am into convertibling since I have a convertible. I guess the verb of that would be convertibling, and I also like to bike. Anyway, so I'm really happy to share this degree with you. But now that I've given you a little bit about me, let's learn a little bit about you. We're going to ask you, we're going to put a survey up here. You can probably see it. When is the last time you were in the classroom? We just want to get a sense of where you're at. And then we can share with you some information about the cohorts at MDS past and possibly future. So once you fill that out, we'll give you a minute to do it. We will report the outcome to you as a basic bar graph, just so you can see the distribution of the audience members attending. So the 90 people here, we can see the split of how recently you've been in a classroom versus how long it's been. So we'll give you a second, and then once that's there, we'll populate it, and we'll share that with you. Yep, and it's actually okay. Okay, so this is pretty common. This will be, let's see, for the spring of 2025 is our next cohort. We've already had students who started in the performance-based admissions class in the summer of 2024 and the fall of 2024. And honestly, it's been about the same. We have an even split. There's some people that just are fresh out of their, undergrad degree or another master's program. Then people that have been working for a couple years and are thinking of maybe reskilling or something. Then we've had people who have been out of school for quite some time and are ready to come back. And that's totally fine. We have that mix already in the program, and we expect it in the future. So again, all of you are welcome in this program. It's okay for all of you to join based on however long it's been that you've been out of school. Another question, what are you hoping to learn today? All right, like what is it that is drawing you to the MDS? Are you interested in the career options, time commitments, things like that, application and admission requirements, or something else? We just want to get a sense of what you want to know, and hopefully we'll cover all of that today. All right, so again, we'll give you a minute to finish that. And then again, at the end, while you're finishing this, we will have a chance to answer some questions towards the end of this session. We'll address some publicly. Some of my colleagues who are here with me might be able to answer some questions back and forth with you behind the scenes, but there might be some that make sense for us to answer publicly, in which case I'll do my best to do that, and so will some of my other colleagues here today. Okay, so far, let's see, there we go. Okay. So some of you want to know about data science as more generally as a career field. Some of you want to know about career options. What might you do once you graduate? The time commitment, tuition cost, application and admission requirements, and then some might have some other questions that we'll get to later. Hopefully we'll address all of these things as we move through this presentation today. Okay, so more specifically, here's the flow of how we'll present to you. I'll tell you a little bit more specifically about the Masters of Data Science, the program, what it's all about, what you study, and then steps to enroll. What's the PBA? That's going to be very important to you. The PBA is your friend. It's a performance-based admissions class. I'll explain what that means momentarily. And then how long does it take and what's it cost? We'll cover that. And then you're going to hear from a real live faculty member here. She's our basically our instructor, Olena Sherbinin. She's going to talk about the PBA class. That's the class that she teaches, the very first one you will need to take. She's the one who teaches it. She's great at it. She's the data architect for the school. It sounds like something out of the Matrix. And she is, in fact, that amazing at what she does for our school in terms of the data and how she manages everything in that regard for our school. So she's got the academic background. She practices what she preaches, all that good stuff. And you'll get a chance to hear from her later on during this presentation. And then again, last but not least, at the end, we'll give you some time to ask some questions and have them answered. So let me start with the MDS. What it is, it's designed to meet your needs. And by that, we mean it was designed for people who are returning adults coming back, who are working, who aren't going to drop everything for school. They want to work part-time, balance other parts of their lives, but yet upskill and build some new credentials and some new skills that will be useful and marketable in the job market. What's also nice and fairly unique about this one is that we like people from all walks of life. You don't need a STEM background to do this. All backgrounds are welcome, right? So, I mean, if you have a STEM background, I think you'll still get something out of this. But if you have no background in tech or math or, engineering, science, technology, STEM, you can still do this. We will teach you all you need to know as part of the degree. Also, this is flexible. It's 100% online and asynchronous, self-paced. And our real faculty teach this, right? The ones that teach in the classroom, that are research experts, all those people, these are the same ones that teach on campus. But I do need to give you one caveat regarding the 100% online and asynchronous. We still do follow the regular University of Pittsburgh term schedule. So in other words, we have a fall term and a spring term. If you're thinking of starting in the spring of 2025, that is a 15-week term, and we would follow the same schedule as the on-campus students would. The biggest difference is that you wouldn't have a specific time you'd have to show up in the classroom, but you'd have to finish the class within those 15 weeks, and it's paced where there will be due dates for assignments throughout the semesters. So when you complete them is flexible, but you'll still need to pace yourself every week as part of this course. So in that sense, it is somewhat parallel to our on-campus classes. Well, let me ask you a couple more questions. All right, so something's going to pop up in a minute as a survey. What have you been working on? So where are you now? Like in terms of you coming back and studying, what's your current context? Are you in education, healthcare, other human services? Are you working in business? Are you already in STEM and you have that background? Or are you doing other things that are part of your life that are very important, such as parenting, caretaking, or meeting other responsibilities, or a volunteer, or something like that, or other? So we just want to know, where you're at, and also evidence to you that we truly have had, as part of our cohort so far, people from a variety of backgrounds. So let's see if that holds true again today. Are you all from one area, or are you sort of evenly distributed between these different areas that you could come into this program? All right. So yep, like I thought. It sounds like, wow, actually, I think we have a stronger skew towards the STEM background here. It sounds like about half of the people here already have a background in STEM, so that's good. And some in human services, some in business, some in parenting, some in other. This is pretty standard. We get people from all walks of life. I will say this, that for those, since there are quite a few of you who are in STEM here, again, you don't need a background in STEM to do this. But I do think there's some advantages in the sense that if you're learning this from scratch, honestly, it will probably take you more time. But if you already have a background in STEM, the learning curve might be quicker. So again, anybody's welcome in this program, but particularly for the first course where you're learning the basics and we're trying to get you up to speed in some of the basics related to, like programming and math and stats and the things if you're learning it from scratch, you might need to put more time into the class than somebody who, let's say, already has a stats background and has already done programming and things like that. So again, all walks of life are welcome, but you might have differential effort for that first course you need to take depending on your background. And then one more question, and then I'll stop asking you questions, I think, for the day. Why are you planning to pursue this degree? Are you hoping to get a master's to help with your earning potential? I mean, some HR departments in different companies and areas have a formula for that, and it helps. Do you just want a life change? You want to join a new industry? Are you thinking you're already in STEM for this? You're already in STEM? Are you pursuing a promotion? Or is it kind of like you're just taking advantage of an opportunity where you have tuition benefits with your employer and they'll pay for it for you. If so, that's great. And I'll tell you why when we get to the cost thing. This is very, very friendly for employers who are supporting your education. Or is it to explore personal interest or something else? And again, this could be more than one thing. Just pick your top one as far as that goes. All right. So many of you are here interested in increasing your earning potential. Some want to join a new industry. A couple are pursuing a promotion. Not too many with employers supporting it, actually. And some are interested in this for personal reasons, and some are other. This is all fine. Again, we have a variety of motivations behind this program, and they're all just fine. We're not targeting any one particular motivation. Okay, so let's get into some of the features of the Master of Data Science as far as that goes. All that separates you from that degree is literally 10 classes, and they're 3 credits each for a total of 30 credits. So you take 10 classes, that includes a capstone, and that's your master's. And again, no STEM background is required, no undergrad STEM degree. Well, you will need an undergrad degree to get into it. It is a master's program, and every master's program typically needs an undergrad degree first, but the undergrad degree can be literally in anything. And then to actually complete this, given that it's 10 courses, it'll take you probably 20 to 36 months. And there is variability. We won't place restrictions. I mean, you can take anything from 1 class a term to like a full-time schedule if you want, but really this is kind of optimized for 1 to 2 classes per term. You should be able to roll through and just take 1 to 2 classes till you graduate. That would be within the 36 months. If you need to expedite it and you have the time to take more than 2 classes a term, you can, but you'll have to do some careful planning and make sure that you've got the time allocated for it, because most of the people in the program do have like other things in their lives, whether they're family or work or both. And so you have to be careful if you're going more than 2 classes, because really, if you're taking 3 or more classes, that is full-time study. And part-time is 2 classes or less, really, in this case. And then some of the other features related to this would be the PBA course as a pathway. We have performance-based admission for this degree. And so you would take the first class, even though you can take more than 1 class a term, for the first entry into the program, you have to take the first class, which is the performance-based admission class, and complete that with a B or better to get into the degree. So basically, data-centric computing is the first class. It's the first of the 10 classes, right? You would start with that, enroll in that, get a B or better, show us that you have an undergrad degree completed, like with proof of verification, and then you're good to go. So no application. You just do this. This is your way into the degree. If you're like, Wes, I want to apply to this, basically, there is no application. You just take the first class and get a B or better in it. That is your application. All right. So that's data-centric computing. That's the class that Olena Sherbinin teaches. And so in terms of verifying your undergrad degree, again, our whole philosophy is we want to remove barriers. We want to make this as relatively easy as possible for you. And how do I say this? Procedurally, we want to make it easy. The content will take quite a bit of time for you to learn. So it is a real legitimate Pitt master's. So you're going to have to put in quite a lot of effort. That part won't be easy, but that you're getting your money's worth for that. You're learning new skills and backgrounds, but we want to make it easier in every other way. So no application, you just take the class, and as long as you do well, you're in. And then rather than having to request a transcript be sent and all this other stuff, we will typically, if you got your degree in the US, be able to go through a clearinghouse and just verify your degree based on your name, your birth date, and all the other information about where you went. And we'll be like, yep, you've got a degree. And you don't really have to do anything other than submit a form to get the party started. But then again, if you're an international student and you have transcripts from outside the US, you will have to get your degree evaluated for equivalency to a 4-year accredited bachelor's degree in the US. So that'll be something by a NACIS approved evaluation agency that usually costs a bit of money. And then you'll have to have that degree verified through one of those agencies. And if you're an international student, you will also have to prove that you have English language proficiency. And that's done either by like having a degree from an English speaking country, or you take a language test. And I'll get into a little bit more detail on that in a moment. And then that's how you get in. You take that first class, complete it successfully, provide the verification of your background, and you're in. So really, remember how I said 10 classes, right? That's all that separates you from the Master of Data Science. I would think of it like bookends. So the way it really works is of those 10, only 8 really are in the middle. So you take that performance-based admissions, the data-centric computing class first. That's the first of the 10. Then you'd have 8 more electives and mandatory courses. And then last but not least, you'd have a capstone project that you would work on as your final class to graduate with. And that really is a project that allows you to show and evidence that you've synthesized all the skills that you've learned in the other classes. So it's like 1, then 8, and then 1 at the end. So 1 on either end, and then 8 courses in the middle that you could choose the pattern of how you take them, whether it's 1 at a time, 2 at a time, or more than that. Okay, what are they? All right, so here's the 10, right? You've got the data-centric computing class. That is the class that you need to take to show that you can get in. That is your admission. It's kind of like, think of it like an audition. You take it and you learn the material, and you're in. Then we've got other core courses that you have to take beyond data-centric computing. You'll have to take a mathematical and statistical foundations class, managing, querying, and preserving data, applied predictive modeling, the art of data visualization, responsible data science, and then you would choose 3 out of 4 electives, which is, if you want to get more into the statistical analysis, there's applied Bayesian data analysis, applied deep learning for computer modeling, cloud computing, and then text as data, and then your capstone at the end. So basically what this is you're going to learn a smidgen of programming that would, but only as it applies to like extracting and analyzing data. You're going to understand databases and understanding data structures and how you query data, how you represent it to other people, how you might do visual representations of that, ethical issues in data, using data to predict outcomes and strategies and things like that. So anything, basically anything and everything to do with data, it's extraction, it's storage, it's manipulation, it's representation, using it to make predictions, all of that stuff. That is basically the meat and potatoes of this degree. Now, here's my favorite part. And honestly, remember how I said I've been working in higher ed for 29 years? First of all, that says I'm old, but it also says that I've seen a lot. I mean, in that time, I've worked at Pitt for a long time. I've worked in other large R1s before that. And honestly, this is the degree that excites me the most of any degree that I've ever seen before. And I've worked with undecided and exploratory students in over like 200 different majors. And it's $15,000 for the entire degree. It was literally designed to be affordable and to give people a leg up into this world of A, having a master's, and B, having a master's in something technical that gives you some good cred and good opportunities. For $15,000 total, which honestly is less than 1 semester of out-of-state tuition for an on-campus master's program. The entire thing is less than 1 semester's on-campus tuition. So it's $15,000 total. That's $500 per credit. So if you do the math, if you take 1 class, it's $1,500. Also, just so you know, truth in advertising, every semester that you're enrolled in Pitt, you have administrative fees, but they're relatively low, right? So you have a computing and networking service fee is $100 and a $75 program administration fee. So really, it's $15,000 total plus however many semesters you're here, multiply that by, like, if it takes you, I don't know, 8 semesters to complete your degree, you do 8 times 175. Those are your administrative overhead costs. So 15,000 plus however many semesters you be here, and that's your total cost, which again is still less than 1 semester out-of-state tuition for our on-campus master's programs. And again, the way this is parsed as well, if you think about it, it's $1,500 a course, and let's say you take 2 classes a term, that's $3,000. That's still typically within the parameters of what most employers would give as educational benefits per year. We did that intentionally so that it would be something that would be affordable for an employer that could pay your way for you. But we also tried to make it affordable for you as well. And not only that, like if you are paying entirely out of pocket, we do have payment plans available through Pitt where you can, depending on the term, you can split it into 3 payments or 6 payments or something like that. And remember how I said, aside from the first semester when you're taking the data-centric computing class and the last semester where you're taking just the capstone, in between, if you take 2 or more classes, that would make you part-time to full-time. then you would be eligible if you're a U.S. citizen for federal aid. So you could think of things like federal student loans or any kind of grants that you would be eligible for. So in that sense, we're like any other degree that you could apply for federal aid for if you're, that half time or more at any semester in which you take 2 or more classes. So again, the access and affordability of it is pretty powerful in this case. Now, I've given you enough of a background about the degree. I'll talk to you a little bit more later about some of the services we offer and some more details. But I wanted to mix this up a little bit and give you a chance to hear from the first instructor that you will be engaging with if you choose to do this program, Alina Sherbinian. So she's going to tell you a little bit more about the class that she teaches and whatnot. So I am going to mute myself and my camera and turn the floor over to her for a bit.
Okay, welcome everyone. Wes, thank you for the introduction. I am, as he said, teaching the first course that you will take if you decide to join this amazing program that calls Data-Centric Computing class. And I work as a part-time instructor for the School of Computing Information for the last 6 years, and I have extensive background in what I teach, because I also work full-time as a data architect for the same School of Computing Information. And I handle and analyze a wide variety of data across the university. My role involves designing systems to manage and organize those data, ensuring it's available for decision-making and improving various processes. This experience allows me to bring practical, real-world examples into classroom and demonstrate how data is used to solve important institutional problems. So, and this is very interesting class because I could say it's split into 3 different focus areas. The first one would be Python programming. It's especially important if you never programmed before. And the second part would be we will learn about computational modeling. And the third, kind of at the end of the course, we're going to talk about predictive analytics. Here's the more detailed breakdown. So basically, first 5 weeks of this course, you will be learn about how to use programming in context of the data analysis. So first 5 weeks, you will learn how to analyze and manipulate data, and Python was chosen as a programming language for the course because it's widely used in data science. It has extensive range of libraries. It's easy to learn for beginners, and it's very powerful for the advanced data analysis. So we're going to be learning basically from scratch. We will start with data types. You will learn what the different data types are, like integers, floats, strings. You will learn how to work with dictionaries, with sets, and how to use functions, how to define custom functions. Very important concept as randomness will be introduced. So you will be working with module random. And the first part of the course also introduces you to pandas, which is a key module for data analysis in Python. The first week of the course, you will learn how to set up a programming environment for this course. We will be using Jupyter Notebook because it's interactive environment and allow you to write code and see output immediately, making it ideal for data exploration and analysis. Then the second part of the course, we're making a shift. We're shifting our focus on exploring and visualizing data. And you will learn how to clean, transform, explore raw data to uncover patterns and insights. So you will explore data visually by building plots and different charts, like scatter plots, trends plots, correlation plots. And also, you will learn how to perform k-means clustering analysis. And that's, we're already doing like exploratory data analysis in the second part of the course. And the last part that I mentioned, that will be introduction to predictive modeling. So you will learn how to split data sets into training and testing sets, how to build models using techniques like linear regression and classification. You will also cover, I will cover the key statistical concepts like mean, median, standard deviation, and correlation that help you to better understand data distributions and modeling evaluation principles. So each module, it's actually 16 of them in this course, has a graded assignments. And there is two types of assignments that you will have to do. Those are multiple choice quizzes, and they will be auto-graded. And the homework assignments, think of them as a lab. So to complete those homeworks, you will write code to answer very specific questions and work with small data sets to test your answers. And there is also a project in this course. And the data set that will be selected for the project, it will be real world data set. So the project kind of split on two parts as well. The first part focuses on exploratory data analysis. And the second part of the project is focuses on finalizing your exploratory data analysis that you did in part one. And you perform clustering to help find patterns in data, so you may learn more about the relationships and structure of this particular data set that will be presented. So as I mentioned, one module, pandas and random, but another key libraries for data analytics that's available for data scientists will be introduced as part of this course, like NumPy. That's the essential for numerical computation and handling arrays, which is a fundamental for data analysis task. The matplotlib and Seaborn will be introduced. Those are powerful libraries for data visualization. You will use those libraries to create plots and charts that help uncover patterns and relationship with the data. The stats model library will be introduced as part of the second part of the course. It's used for statistical modeling, providing functions to eliminate and interpret models, particularly for regressional analysis. And at the end of the course, you will learn how to work with scikit-learn library. That's the key library for machine learning. And that's basically an overview of what you can expect through the course. And I'm looking forward to see you and apply those skills in your projects. One more thing I wanted to mention, there is like 4 or 5 optional books that will be, you can, I think all of them available free online, that you can use to kind of master your skills during the course. So they will be introduced to you when you, on the first week of the course, if you decide to take it. Okay, Bess, I'm returning floor to you.
Thank you very much, Olena. And I've been working with Olena for many years, and I'm really excited that she's the one that will, sort of share this information with you, because I feel like she epitomizes some takeaways that I hope you get from this. And before I even go to any other slides, I mean, I think one of the things that I've heard in the past is when students first come to this, they're like, is this like a corporate thing? When they think of this degree, they're like, is this really a Pitt degree? And I'm like, yes, it's a Pitt degree. We partner with Coursera and they're a great partner, but this is, I mean, you just evidence there is significant real content that you're going to learn. And I'm hoping for the 50% of you who said that you have a STEM background, you're like, okay, now you're getting a sense of the level of this, that this really is a real degree that you'll springboard off of to learn more. And for those who don't have a STEM background, don't be discouraged. You've probably heard a lot of terms that you might have never heard before, but you will learn all of these from not knowing anything about them, so you can impress your friends at party. And like this time next Thanksgiving next year, you could be like, yes, I'm doing linear regression analysis and I'm doing scatter plots and things like that. And you can really, to your non-STEM friends, you can impress them with some of the things that you're learning from this too, and hopefully impress employers as well. But I mean, I think that the content is real, and the people who are teaching this, these aren't sidelight people that we pull in off the street. These are some of our best and brightest that have been in the school forever, that are really good at teaching and really good at what they do. They know their stuff, and they're the ones building and teaching these courses, building and or teaching these courses. So I think this is a great representative sample, speaking of data, of the kind of quality of instruction that you get by giving this, hearing a little bit from Molina here. Okay, so, well, I mean, you're going to be in a real master's program if you decide to do this starting in January, if you decide to start in January, which you can do in the spring of 2025. But again, for those of you that might have been out of school for a while, there's, that can be a little bit of a nervous prospect, because it's like, well, I have to carve out the time. How am I going to get guidance? How am I going to get back into this? We have resources to help you. There are live faculty office hours. There are teaching assistants that we call a fancy word course facilitators. And there's other academic support. You have student success personnel such as myself, and there's another colleague of mine, Maria Di Pastino, who we can meet with you and talk with you and help you navigate things outside of the classroom. There's also, for those of you who want it, if you're going to beef up your resume or prepare for other interviews, there's ways where we have virtual things where you can get your resume reviewed or record a mock interview, do all kinds of things like that. There are resources to complement what you're learning outside the classroom to help bolster you as you're preparing for your next career phase. And just along the way, if you need somebody to bounce ideas off of or help you navigate the system, that's what like myself and Maria are there for in student success. And again, the faculty will be, even though a lot of what you're going to be doing is online, you watch videos, you'll have online assignments and things like that. So you're not sitting there in the classroom with, a TA and a faculty member. They are accessible to you, and you can engage with them as part of this course and as part of this program. So again, all right, Wes, I'm interested. What do I do? Well, you've got to start with the performance-based admission class, the data-centric computing class that Alina is teaching in the spring. You need to get a B or better of that by the end of the spring term. And during the spring term, we'll automatically evaluate your transcript to verify that you graduated. Or if you're international or there's some glitch with that, we'd let you know, and you'd have to provide us with proof of that degree or the equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree. And if you're an international student, you need to show us test results in either TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo with those scores, 80, 6.5, or 110 respectively. And that's what you need to do to get in and be admitted as a master's student. Again, your application will be taking the class. Let's say you start in the spring, taking the performance-based class, and then we do the background verification. As long as you get everything's verified and you get the B or better, then you're admitted into the program. So if you actually literally want to do it, to get started, to enroll in that first class, you go to Coursera, to this link, or on our website, you can apply, and you literally fill out a form that takes you 5 minutes to complete it. Because your name, your prior degree, your birth date, a couple of other things, and that is how you enroll. And then we will follow up with you from there on all the details about getting you a Pitt account, how you link that to Coursera, and then how you get started in the class, started in the spring. But that's it. That's the enrollment, the application, everything. The hard work is on you to study and learn as in any master's program and do well in that first class. But to get into that first class, it's super easy. You literally fill out this 5-minute form, and then you'll have to pay your tuition by the time it's due, and then keep up with the coursework. So again, the class will start in the spring. I think it's something like January 8th or something like that is the first day of classes. It's 15 weeks long. Do your work, pace it on a regular basis. But again, each week you should be keeping up with things, but whether you do that at Tuesday at 7:15 in the morning or Saturday night at 8:52 p.m., it doesn't matter. Anything in between, that's the flexible part. In any given week, you do this when you can throughout the spring term. And then once you get the B or better and you have your stuff verified, you're in. So again, takeaways. No letters of recommendation, no STEM background required, no GRE or SAT or any kind of standard test, other than if you're an international student, you need a standard English proficiency test. All you do, you take the class, get a B or better. We verify that you have a bachelor's degree and you show your English proficiency, and you're in. Pretty straightforward. Whole thing costs $15,000. Payment plans are available. Federal aid is available if you're taking 2 more classes in a given term. And employment benefits, we participate in those. We're supportive of them. They're fine. Okay, let's see. And also, you have services available to you from faculty office hours, teaching assistance, academic support, advising in student success and career services. You've got all of that as well as an online student. Now we'll jump into the question time. And I see it looks like there's been some things going in the Q&A, and I'm just going to go through them, slog through them sequentially. Some of these will be ones that I'll answer. Some of these might be ones that Olena would need to answer, but I'll sort of be the MC sort of fielding them. Is there an email where I can contact admissions? I'm from Mexico. Yeah, so basically, when you submit your enrollment form, we would reach out to you and provide you with all the information as far as those emails would go. We have a couple of admissions, or we have a couple of email addresses. And again, we try to keep it simple. When you're a student who's applying, there'll be like an online MDS admissions email address that you would correspond with. And then when you're a student, there's like an online MDS support email that you would correspond with. And then we farm out any question you have to the right resource for answers. But you'd have like kind of like a single email point of contact as far as that goes. And again, once you submit the enrollment form, then we'd reach out to you with the appropriate email addresses. Now, next question is, how does the program help graduating students find a job in industry? Oh, okay. If you're interested in that, we do have a career center where, again, you'll be able to go into, there's an online database called Handshake. And any positions that would be available to Pitt students, they're organized by tech or business or, politics, nonprofits, whatever. You can submit and create an account and put your resume there and then search for employers and do things that way. We can help you find jobs in industry through that career center. And then you can also work with some of the student success folks, such as Maria and myself, and we can help you connect with potential employers, those kinds of things as needed if you're not already on a career track. And again, this is a weird thing. I should say this one. This hasn't come up often, so this is a good question. Even though you're an online student, if you happen to either live within travel distance to Pittsburgh or you want to travel to Pittsburgh, we do have on-campus events like career fairs every fall and spring. And you don't have to attend those, but they are in-person events and you're welcome to attend those if you can make it. Those are niceties, not necessities, but those are additional ways where we can help you with industry positions. Okay. Oh, how much is the tuition fee? Again, I think that was covered already in it's $500 per credit, so a 3-credit class would be $1,500 for one course. You have 10 total, so that's $15,000 total. Plus, again, the administrative fees. Anytime you're enrolled in courses in a given semester, you'd have $175 in administrative fees. Next question is, are there opportunities for Pittsburgh-based students to connect, collaborate, and network? Will Pittsburgh local students have access to Pitt facilities? Yes, I kind of incidentally answered that in my earlier thing, but yeah, you would have access to the career center and being able to go to our career fairs, those kinds of things. If there are any job talks from like employers that'll happen on campus, you could attend those. You would be able to follow us on our website where we have our events calendar. Any events that are open to a Pitt student, even though you're an online student, if you're physically local, you can come to those. That is absolutely fine. So you would have access to that. I do think there might be some nuances to the extent that you might not have a bus pass or something like that because you're an online student, but accessing on-campus stuff is fine. And if you do have any questions about very specific nuanced items, you can reach out as a student to the student success team and we can help you figure that out. But in general, yep, anything that would be available from the career fair to any job, like employers on campus, you can just go to that if you're physically close enough or want to travel to do that. It's just not expected that you do that, but you can. Okay, the next question, as explained by the speakers, there's only a smidgen of programming and most of the programming is focused on extracting data. If we're not doing much programming, how do we practice for interviews to be employed as a data scientist within companies? Maybe I should turn this in, maybe I should operationally define a little better a smidgen of programming. Like, Olina, how much programming would you say is involved in this? Like
in PBA course specifically, you will program quite a lot. So if you program before, definitely that will be easier for you. But if you never program before, that will be your chance to learn your first programming language. And as I highlighted, the Python is a great choice because that's the easiest to learn because it's very close to English language syntax and has tons of libraries, and you don't need to stop just on learning one language. If you like the first course, it will be more programming languages introduced later in this program.
Yeah, and so a smidgen is more like it's, how do I say this? Unlike like a computer science degree where like in an undergrad degree, if you have 40 classes and 10 to 12 of them might directly involve programming in different programming languages from assembly to Java to Python to whatever, like you're not going to do that. Like you're specifically focusing on Python so that you know that because Python, and again, I'm not an expert in programming, so Alina can correct me if I articulate this wrong, but learning that language lends itself to extracting data. Like Python can be used to extract and analyze data and write programs specifically for manipulating data. So rather than just knowing how to program, you're going to know how to use specific programming languages like Python to extract data. So
Yes,
that's
you correct. It's not introduction class to Python where you learn depths of the language. It's more focusing how you apply your ability to program in data analytics. So the focus will be on how to analyze and manipulate the data. But in order to do that, the first couple weeks, no, not couple weeks, first 5 weeks of the course, we will introduce the basic concepts of any programming language.
Yeah. And I think I might, as a sort of an end user who's not really STEM, I mean, I had a lot of statistics in grad school, but I was basically, my background's in psych and instructional systems, but I happened to, in my previous position, become like a data warehouse power user, learn a little bit about SQL programming. And like, I never had programming as a formal language. And I wish I had this kind of level of it because I learned that sometimes when you're trying to manipulate and understand data, like you have tools like Excel and Access and whatever, and there's certain things you just can't do or it's very bulky to do. But if you write a program, it can make it easier to do more complicated data manipulations. And I felt like applied in that setting, I was much better able to understand why programming mattered and how to use it in that context. And I think it's almost like having training wheels. You're going to have a focused understanding on it that will be very pragmatic and applied. So I think in that sense, if you don't have a STEM background, that's a very gentle way to learn programming. I mean, it's not going to be easy necessarily, but it's not the same as like learning 20 programming languages or whatever, or how to understand a programming language the way a computer scientist would. And in terms of employers, I'm hoping that you'd be able to have an intelligent conversation about if this is your data needs, I can use, Python to extract the data and manipulate it in this way. And that's the kind of way you would have that kind of conversation with a potential employer. I think, and all they need to do is be able to know that you know how to manipulate data and you have the right tools to do it. I don't think they would just be like, well, do you know C++? Or do you know job. I don't think it would work that way. It'd be like, we have this data need. How are you going to handle it? And in that sense, you'd be able to speak about that intelligently from what you've learned in the program. All right, next question is, how do you apply for the PBA course and when will the course start? Well, I mean, it's available in the spring and the summer and the fall. So you can start whenever you're ready. But if you want to start in the spring, you still can. And you just need to submit that form that I shared on the PowerPoint. If you go to our sci.pitt.edu or you go to Coursera and look us up, it'll direct you to that form and you submit it. It takes 5 minutes to do. And that's literally how you apply. You submit this form and that enrolls you in the PBA. And then you'll pay your tuition and get started on January 8th if you want to start in the spring. But basically, I will say it this way, you can't just select any semester that you started. It's kind of like a rolling window. So for now, you'd have to go to the form by, I forget, it was like December 22nd or something like that. And if you submit the form, then that enrolls you to take the PBA in the spring. But if you're like, nah, I don't want to start in the spring, I want to start in the summer, then you just wait until after the spring term starts. And I think sometime in January, we'll pop the form up again for you to like enroll and start in the summer. So just check out the form in time for the semester that you want to start in. Okay. Now here's there's a qualifier to this question. I expect the answer to this question is no. My favorite programming language is the Wolfram language. Will there be any scope to use this in any assignments? I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that. Like, do you have any sense of that, Olena? Do you know how to answer that particular question?
Sorry, I was muted. No, that's not the part of the PBA course.
Okay, so the answer is no. That being said, if there's later on in the capstone, there might be leeway for you to utilize some of the knowledge that you know and like, but I don't know that it'll be part of the formal education process that you're dealing with now. Okay. Next question, I think, is it possible to join research groups at Pitt while being part of this online degree? Again, it's not expected. And I can't quantify the percentage likelihood that you would get accepted to be part of a research group, but there's no reason why not. You will be a formally, officially enrolled Pitt student. And that's the kind of thing where, again, if you go to sci.pitt.edu and then look at the people section, there's a faculty section. You can look at our faculty, and if they're doing research that you think is cool, you could reach out to them and say, hey, are there any projects that I can work on as a student? And some would probably welcome your help online. Some labs are in person, but some can work remotely. So I think it's possible. It's just not a guarantee and it's not expected. Okay. The next one is, what programming languages are used in the degree? I'd say it's primarily Python, but Olena, do you have some sense if there might be some others that they might cross paths with as part of the degree?
Possibly SQL for Dmitri's course.
Right. Managing, querying, applying, and preserving data, like some of those other things are, yeah. So SQL is sort of like a logic language for data extraction, right? In a way, it feels like, or pulling and representing data. So that might be possible. But again, it's very basic. So between Python and SQL, I think that would be the main area. Then that makes sense. But that being said, I think there's something that Olena said earlier that I want to amplify, is that I think you'll be given enough tools from what you're learning that if you wanted to learn other programming languages to the extent that they would help you extract and apply data, you probably have the chops to do it after this degree if you wanted to. So, but again, it's not like here's a smorgasbord of, or a sampler platter of programming languages. That's not part of what this degree is. It's very pragmatically focused on using programming to extract data, and the most useful language du jour for that right now is Python. Let's see. Oh, so next question is, would a Master of Data Science degree be sufficient and cover required skills for someone that would like to pursue a career as a business analyst or financial analyst coming from a completely different background or industry? I don't know that I have the expertise to answer specifically that. I would say it this way, that the degree itself was driven by like how we built it and formed it. It was driven by industry partners who are saying, here's what we need from a person who's doing data for our corporation. So we built it to be a terminal master's degree that can help you in different disciplines. And anywhere where you need to do data analysis is fine. But what I can't speak to is like specifically how competitive business analyst or financial analyst positions are. Are they going to look for people that have a background in business also? Like, are you going to be at a disadvantage because you don't have an MBA or 10 years of experience in business? I don't know. But will you have the skills specifically to analyze data in a business context? Yes. So I think, would you at least be able to try and apply for positions? I think so, but I don't know how competitive you would be in that particular field in the particular area that you live in, if that makes sense. One thing I might recommend in that regard is if you have a very specific focus where you're like, I want to apply this degree as a business analyst, it might be worth reaching out and doing some informational interviews from either friend or family connections that you might have in this world, and share with them basically the overlay, like, here's the skills, here's the classes, is this map to what you're looking for if you were to hire somebody, and see what they say in that sense. Now, the next question, again, I think I need to defer to like sort of faculty expertise. Do we learn PyTorch in the applied deep learning class? Now, Alina, I know you don't teach the applied deep learning class, but do you have a sense of, like, do you know what PyTorch is? And do you have a sense of whether or not that's something that they might reasonably expect to cross paths with in this program?
No, that would be hard to answer, because the last part of the class I teach, it's, as I said, it's focusing, it's like just introduction to predictive modeling. So it's not diving very deep to machine learning, the PBA class.
Okay, but
so that in the future classes.
Right. So I don't know how to answer that now, but that's something that if you did email us, we could try to like research that and check with the course development team to see if they plan on putting PyTorch in the applied deep learning class when it drops. Because I don't know the answer to that now, to be honest.
Yeah, me either.
So after we apply for enrollment in the PBA course, how quickly will we be granted access to the preview course? Oh, yeah, that's actually a separate thing where I believe now there was an email that went out about that you could do the preview course beforehand now. So if you do have interest in that, email us and we can see if we can figure out a way to get you connected to that preview course now. But just to let you know, that's a really good question, because there's a couple ways I would frame like how you think of the preview of this class. And this is something that I hadn't thought to include in the presentation, but I'll share it now because I think it's, if I were in your shoes, I would want to think about it this way. So there is a preview course that's available to now. We call it like the open content, right? What that would do if you email us and we can give you access to that now, you'd basically have to create like a Coursera account if you don't already have one. And then you could access the open content. And then if you did decide to become a real student with us, then you'd have to switch and associate your Coursera account with your Pitt ID and then delve into the real class. But if you're just looking at the open content now, what that really is like access to the videos and some of the artifacts we've built to help you learn the course. You wouldn't actually interact or do any quizzes. You just like browse the level of content. So if you're interested in saying, well, how deep do I get in this? What is some of the learning going to feel like now? You'd have some access to those videos if you do the open content. And you could do that almost now. You just have to have an email, get the right access, and then be able to go in and, like this month, you should still be able to do that. But that's not quite the same as previewing the real course. And you do actually have a chance to do that. So remember I said, like, let's say you do start in the spring of 2025. Classes begin on January 8th, which oddly enough, I think is a Wednesday, if I remember correctly. And so that Wednesday in January, you'd start. So if you enrolled in the actual class, you'd have the first 2 weeks of the term to take it out for a spin before you'd really be locked in. And by that, I mean, that's the first 2 weeks of that term would be what's called the drop ad period, meaning you could actually email us and drop the class. And if you drop the actual class within the first 2 weeks, it's eliminated from your transcript and you owe no tuition. So really, you could take the real class out for a test drive for your first 2 weeks of the actual term, where you could complete some of the auto-graded quizzes and read assignments and things like that and get a feel for what it feels like to be a student. Like, how much content do you have to look through? What's the pace of the learning? And that way you get a real feel for whether or not you have the time to commit to this and this is meeting your expectations in terms of the level of depth of the material that you would want. And then if you're like, no, it's not, you could drop it within those first 2 weeks and not owe any tuition. Or as long as you take no action and just continue with the course, you would stay in it and then your bill would come due and you keep going on with the class. So there's the open content, which you could email us about and do sort of now where you just watch some of the videos, or you could take the first 2 weeks to really engage with the actual content. And those are sort of the two options you have for like kind of what I would call the try before you buy approach. And would we learn about other big data frameworks, including Hadoop, Spark, or Hive? I might turn to Olina to see if that's something that she could answer a little bit or give a sense of.
Yes, again, not as a part of the PBA course, but maybe later in the term, I can say if the courses that we have in development, they might use Hadoop as a framework.
Yeah, so that would be, again, that's very specific to the classes. So I think the person who asked
It's
this,
very specific to your future classes. So that's why we probably, like Wes suggested, email us and we can get back to you with more details and say in which class those frameworks you mentioned will be introduced.
right, because we'd have to look at the faculty who have developed those courses to confirm that for sure. Right. And the next question is, what position can we target after going through this course? Anything where you'd be like a data scientist, a data analyst, all those kinds of things that's relevant for you to do. Anything where you need to have data to help predict things, working for a consulting agency, all of that would be relevant to you as a person who gets this master's degree. All right, the next thing would be, and again, out of respect for your time, we're just about at time. We're only a couple more questions. I'm going to slog through them, but I want to let you know I'm not going to be offended if you need to go. But I'm happy to stick around and continue these now. Let's see. So we have some of the other questions that have come up. Oh, do we have a graduation ceremony or on completion of the degree? Yes. In fact, the one question now, because of my role in student services, I typically implement and coordinate the graduation ceremonies. And the one thing I haven't determined yet is, would it make sense to have a completely separate ceremony just for MDS? And at this point, I don't know that we need to do that. I mean, you're one of many degrees in the school and you're a part of the school. So my initial thought is that we have an existing graduation ceremony. We actually have two. For summer and fall grads, we have one in December. And then for students who graduate in the spring, we have one typically in the end of April or early May. And you'd be invited to one of those for the school. And the nice thing about that is that it is an in-person ceremony that's live streamed. So you can do this either way. Like if you're able to come to Pittsburgh for the in-person ceremony, you're welcome to do it. And then you would walk and have your name called and all that good stuff. But if you can't attend because you're an online student, you could still attend virtually through the live stream. So yes, there will be a graduation ceremony that you will be invited to for the School of Computing and Information. But whether or not you'll be having a separate MDS specific ceremony, that is TBD. What's the pass rate for the PBA course? I don't know that we've calculated it exactly, but Olina's taught this before. What's your sense of it so far?
Yes, I can answer on that. It's about 80%.
Okay, sounds right. Cool. Is the program accredited? Yeah, it depends on what you mean by that. Like, yeah, it's a Pitt degree, and so we're accredited by the accrediting agencies for higher education. So it's absolutely an accredited degree, but that's a loaded question because there are other forms of accreditation also. Like, for example, if you're an engineer, you need to be ABET accredited. But like data science and computer science, to my knowledge, does not have an accrediting body in that same way. Like there are certain fields that have their own accreditation, engineering being one of them. If you're an actuary, you need to be accredited, those kinds of things. So the program is accredited in the higher education sense, in the sense that it's a legit Pitt degree, and Pitt is an accredited institution in higher education. But professionally, we don't have any correlate to like engineering's ABET or the accreditation for actuaries, for example. So there's no accreditation in that sense. And then if yes, what are some other options to continuing education for other degree if applicable? I'm not sure if I understand that, but I will say this, like, again, because it is a real Pitt master's degree, like some people could go on and apply for doctoral programs that require masters for admission. It counts as a master's credential as a prerequisite for any like doctoral program that would require a master's degree first. I think maybe that's the best way that I can answer it. And I think with that, I think I've covered all of them. Let me just double check. Yep. I think I hit all the questions that came through, and I'm only 3 minutes over time, and we still have 90 people present. Let me double check the chat. Did I miss anything? One more question that came up sort of separately. Olena, do you have the titles of those books that you mentioned? Like if people could look them up for free online, is that something that we can drop in the chat?
Yeah, they are. I will drop it I will drop it in the chat.
Okay, now I don't know if the students can see that. I'm trying to think of how we could get that out. But if you drop it in the chat, then at least we might be able to distribute them later. Okay. There they are. Okay, so I see them now. Introduction to Computation and Programming Using Python by Gutag. Python for Everybody by Severance. Data Science from Scratch by Joel Gruss. Hands-on Machine Learning by Aurelian Garon. Introduction to Computation and Programming Using Python by Gutag. Oh, no, those are the same things. Sorry, I'm reading them twice again. All right, they're there. Oh, and Jane also dropped them. Okay, so we've got them now. And if for some reason people couldn't access them, they could email us later and we'd be able to transfer them to you that way. I'm going to stop my share or open here again. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, for giving us your lunch hour or another random hour if you're in a different time zone. Happy exploring. We hope to see you in the spring. If you choose to enroll in the program, we hope to see you in the PBA class. And whatever you decide to do, I'm glad you're interested in this. This is a great field to get into, and I wish you the best of luck with everything. Take care, everyone.
Good luck, guys. See you in spring.